Audrey Blake, a dedicated hairdresser known for her kindness and nimble fingers in a local salon, stood outside the city's most exclusive restaurant. She had saved for months, stretching each paycheck by cutting out every small indulgence, all for this one evening of sophistication. Her heart skipped at the thought of stepping inside. Dressed in a simple frock from the thrift store and carrying her old, but cherished handbag, Audrey felt the grandeur even before she entered. The restaurant's entrance boasted gleaming marble floors, gleaming like mini oceans under the chandelier's elegant glow. The subtle yet tantalizing aroma of rare spices floated through the air, wrapping her in an opulent embrace she had only imagined. Her throat slightly tight with nerves, Audrey approached the maitre d' with a courteous smile, her voice just bold enough to confirm her booking. Once seated, she fumbled momentarily with the menu's intricately spelled terms. As she placed her order, a simple grilled chicken breast with steamed vegetables, she mispronounced entree, drawing the attention of the head chef. From behind the pristine counter, the chef cast a scornful glance and spoke loudly enough for everyone to hear. A clueless diner, indeed, this is not the sort of place for simple tastes. His icy remark, delivered with a disdainful smirk, struck like a physical blow. Audrey felt exposed and out of place, surrounded by patrons whose subtle gasps and diverted gazes added to her humiliation. Blood rushed to her cheeks as her hopes for a special evening crumbled amid the elegant splendor, leaving an indelible imprint on her heart. She felt judged and unwelcome in a place that should have been her moment of joy. Audrey stood frozen for a moment, the chef's harsh words ringing in her ears. Around her, reactions varied. Some diners exchanged amused glances, whispering behind delicate hands, their eyes flickering with mirth at her expense. Others shifted uncomfortably in their seats, clearly uneasy with the spectacle but reluctant to intervene. A few sympathized quietly, casting Audrey small, apologetic smiles before turning away awkwardly. Humiliated and heartbroken, Audrey managed a shaky nod to the maitre d', who looked both embarrassed and apologetic as he showed her out. She clutched her handbag tightly to her side, the polished hardwood floors echoing her retreating footsteps as she stepped outside into the chilly evening air. The world outside seemed colder now, devoid of the restaurant's warm glow. Audrey found a bench at the edge of the nearby square, where soft moonlight dappled through the bare branches of trees. Here, away from the judgmental gazes, she let her tears fall. The night's cold breeze brushed against her cheeks, a stark contrast to the flush of humiliation still heating her face. Sitting alone, Audrey's thoughts spun back through the years. She remembered long hours at the bustling salon, her feet aching from standing all day, her fingers deftly moving through hair of all textures. Daily, she put her heart into each cut and style, finding joy in her clients' satisfaction and companionship. Savings for herself came slowly as she prioritized essentials over whimsy. This dinner was to be a milestone celebration, a personal triumph for her tenacious spirit. Audrey's mind wandered further back, recalling her decision to book a table at the exclusive restaurant. She had always walked by, peering through the large, welcoming windows. The restaurant symbolized a realm of indulgence she longed to touch, a dream of stepping into a world of elegance she had only glimpsed from outside. It was her little reward, a manifestation of her resilience. Her sacrifices played like a silent film, remembering countless late nights wrapping up the salon's books and weekends foregoing leisure, the result of which was always an improved client experience and a padded savings envelope, known only to herself. And still, she found happiness in simpler joys, a warm cup of tea in the evening, a friendly chat with a client who became a friend, or the satisfaction of a newly polished counter reflecting the salon's daily success. Deeper reflections swept over her, recalling her decision to reward herself today. She'd been marking off every year in the salon with a personal milestone, and this year, rather than a new tool or a work trip, it was time to embrace something purely luxurious, a memory to cherish. Her heart ached as she remembered her hopes, biting into a meal crafted with care she couldn't replicate, soaked in the restaurant's creativity, and savoring the experience so fondly recommended by a client. Perhaps her mistake was asking for simplicity amid such opulence, a misguided hope for comfort in a sophisticated world. Time seemed to slow on the square bench, as Audrey let each reflection solidify, settling the helter-skelter of emotions that had overrun her tonight. The cruelty of being mocked for her taste had tarnished her dream. But beneath the hurt, simmered a quiet defiance, a voice insisting she was not lesser for wanting simplicity or for dreaming of luxury within her means. In the distance, the city moved along, unaware of the quiet storm within Audrey's heart. Her journey to dine amongst the elite was meant to be one of celebration, not degradation. She knew then that this experience, though marked by pain, did not erase her achievements nor diminish her worth. Sitting there as the world moved around her, she vowed to herself the night would not end defined by another's prejudice. Audrey drew a deep breath, her resolve to glean wisdom from this adversity growing stronger. She unburdened herself from the chains of others' judgments and allowed herself freedom enough to cast those aside. It would be a gradual healing, she suspected, but within her core, she grasped the remnants of her shattered evening and molded them into stones to strengthen her foundation. This was a single night in a life made of many. To continue forward was to succeed. As she stood up to leave the bench, the fog of despair began to clear, and she felt a flicker of the person she might yet become. Audrey noticed a couple of nearby workers leisurely setting up street performers' equipment. The tuner jumped from lamppost light shadows, vibrating strings into harmonies and casting tiny melodies into the night. Her heart, though weary, found a comfort in their dedication, kindling the familiar warmth of creativity and making the world a slightly kinder place. With one final look at the glowing cityscape, Audrey wiped the tear streaks from her cheeks, adjusted the scarf around her neck, and headed homeward. Her pace steady and eyes clearer, she moved through the streets with a renewed sense of awareness, more grounded in her reality than the ominous whispers of the lavish restaurant's patrons. There was comfort in embracing the self she had built. Under the glow of old street lamps leading her path, Audrey embraced the opening chapters to her unplanned journey, one emboldened by hardship. Unbeknownst to the crowded restaurant rooms, contentious chef, or their discordant clinking dishware, Audrey Blake was contemplating not just the cost of vulnerability underestimated, but also the unexpected opportunity to architect her destiny beyond what luxury could offer. The night had turned, and so had her resolve. With the future untold and infinite, she walked on, an ordinary woman with extraordinary courage stitched into the simple fabric of her life. Audrey followed the familiar path back home, the night air slowly dispelling the residue of her public humiliation. The streets of her neighborhood, though not graced with the opulence of the restaurant she had just left, held their own charm, a cozy, lived-in warmth emanated from the small brick houses and vibrant local shops she passed. She felt a subtle sense of belonging here, among these familiar surroundings. As she neared the salon where she worked, Audrey glanced at the lit window displays, the tools of her trade illuminated in the darkness, a beacon reminding her of everything she had built and nurtured. Though weary, her spirits were resilient, buoyed by an unyielding core of determination to move forward. Before heading home, Audrey decided to take her habitual shortcut, a narrow alleyway that trimmed a few minutes off her walk. Just as she was about to step onto the path, something caught her attention, a side entrance to the very restaurant she had left. It was here, secluded and away from the cultivated grandeur of its front, that reality starkly contrasted with facade. A dull, steady hum came from deep within, washing over the quiet street. Audrey noticed a thin stream of smoke curling upwards from beneath a pair of double doors, fire exits, she presumed. Her eyes followed the wispy lines to where they disappeared against the wall's shadowed brick. Drawing nearer, she saw the fire exit was padlocked shut, a rusty chain wrapped securely around its handles. Her heart skipped, a shiver creeping up her spine at the realization of such a safety hazard. A quiet urgency bubbled within her. Audrey pulled out her phone, fingers moving quickly as she dialed the fire safety authority's number. Her voice was firm yet measured as she reported the locked exit and visible smoke, details she knew couldn't be ignored. As she ended the call, doing her modest duty to alert those who should heed her warning, Audrey heard voices emanating from the open kitchen door slightly further down the alley. She caught snippets of conversation between two staff members, voices lowered in confidential concern. Their words, though hurried, were unmistakable: the delayed health inspections, improper food storage threatening to compromise the establishment's repute. Audrey's mind raced as their dialogue punctuated her thoughts. She had stepped out tonight with dreams of a memorable meal embellished with simple luxury, returning instead marked by ridicule. Yet here intertwined with her grief was an unexpected chance to right an unseen wrong, to weave justice amid the frayed threads of her evening's tapestry. Her fingers itched to act. Driven by instinct and purpose, she typed a concise email to a journalist known for investigative pieces about safety violations within the city. Her words danced across the screen, detailing the fire door, the overheard conversation, her earlier shame set aside in favor of centering this newfound truth ingrained within the evening. With the email sent, Audrey took a deep breath, contemplating the strangeness of this night. She had stepped into that elegant restaurant seeking joy from its culinary mastery. Now, she was stepping away with something strangely more profound, an empowered sense of justice, a choice to act when opportunity arose, however fleeting. Walking away from the alley, with courage kindling her resolve like a beacon, Audrey felt a renewal expanding within her being. There was gratification in the simple act of doing what was right. It stood in contrast to the belittlement she faced and showed an inspiration she realized had always been there, nestled amidst a world eager to spotlight her modesty over her strength. The city's rhythm pulsed anew, and as she threaded through these evening moments, Audrey held her head high, carrying both heartache and hope in her breast. This nocturnal world was inconspicuously alive, carrying the echo of voices unsilenced, a narrative weave bearing continuity from her inhibition to her action. Audrey's path led her home, where the steadfast warmth exuded more than comfort. She embraced the night's end like a companion, a deep solace nestled in routine remained unchanged despite its earlier volatility. As she prepared for restful respite, Audrey knew the far-reaching outcome of tonight's choice was as uncertain as the dawn's promise but imbued with faith and fortitude widened by tonight's events. Finally enveloped in the comfort of her bed, with the day's pendulum swung from dream to betrayal to empowerment, Audrey closed her eyes. A gentle satisfaction mingled with her dreams, a deep-seated knowingness her integrity remained unswayed despite adversity. In sleep's embrace, Audrey's mind wandered, floating in dreams woven with charred smoke and whispered revelations buttressed by newfound resolve. Even amidst uncertainty, Audrey could grasp the echoes of change through action born from that luxurious threshold, redefining its significance. Night gave way to morning, and as light streamed in through her windows, Audrey awoke with energy renewed. A sense of peace supported by the night's revelations mingled with the day's expectations. Today's unfolding narrative remained a blank canvas onto which Audrey could imprint her strength, carving pride from humility through the simple act of standing. This new day, rooted in the ordinary cadence of her life, was suffused with purpose, nurtured by resilient hope. The wounds inflicted outside that exclusive restaurant were nurtured with the balm of her choices, living proof of her courage and an invitation for what changes she might yet inspire. The sky's hue brightened, mirroring the fire inside her heart, a light for those unspoken truths and newfound empowerment she carried forward, emblematic of everything Audrey stood for and vowed to continue being, a beacon that her worth exceeded any belittlement faced. The following morning arrived with clear skies, casting a crisp light over the city that danced upon rooftops and shopfronts. Audrey awoke feeling unexpectedly invigorated, the promise of the day urging her from her slumber despite the late hour she had retired. As she went about her morning routine, she reflected on the unlikely twists and turns the previous night had taken, how what started with such promise had quickly crumbled, only to manifest into something entirely different. Downstairs, Audrey flicked on her laptop, expecting solace in the normal hustle of emails and notifications, only to be met with a whirlwind of messages that nearly staggered her back into her chair. She blinked, trying to make sense of the flood of alerts. Her inbox was buzzing, social media mentions stretched on endlessly. Overnight, her email and subsequent report to the authorities had unleashed a storm far bigger than she anticipated. Her attention was immediately caught by an email from the local journalist she had contacted, Her tip-off on the restaurant's fire safety violations had gone live in a scathing article that morning, bringing attention to the establishment's disregard for basic safety and sanitary protocols. The journalist had pulled no punches, detailing the restaurant's public facade overshadowed by private neglect, complete with details Audrey had inadvertently unearthed. Audrey's hands hovered over the keyboard as she read through the article, her heart pounding but eyes bright with a sense of vindication. Her name was not mentioned, but the story prominently cited an anonymous tip that spurred the investigation. Online, the reaction was explosive. Comments poured in from other patrons echoing similar experiences of poor conduct or dismissiveness at high-end venues, adding their voices to the choir of indignation and support. By mid-morning, the news had gone viral. Social media channels overflowed with shares and retweets, a deluge of empathy directed towards illustrating injustices often overlooked. The restaurant's pristine reputation was suddenly under siege, faced with undeniable scrutiny. Influencers, local activists, and food critics picked up the story, rallying against the haughty establishment and amplifying the chorus of collective outrage. In a desperate gaming of damage control, the restaurant's management released a statement that did little to stanch the bleeding. Their swift attempt at deflecting blame fell flat, as readers flooded forums with stories and expert opinions denouncing such carelessness. Public focus turned sharply to the matters of fire safety and unregulated food handling, a perilous cocktail shouldering the potential for disaster. Audrey watched in surreal disbelief as the campaign for accountability unfolded before her, all from the quiet of her room. Her actions had sparked a wildfire of advocacy, underscored by an astute understanding of this community's dynamics, each passerby more than just shared scenery. The maelstrom was exhilarating, her tears of the previous evening now transmuted into ripples of change affecting a much broader scope than she ever intended. News outlets picked up the report, inundating the restaurant with calls for comment while city officials moved in promptly to investigate the claims. The unfolding events culminated with an official inspection by authorities, revealing a plethora of fire code violations, improper storage of perishables, and serious lapses in sanitary procedures. The findings confirmed a long-standing negligence masked by a veneer of sophistication. With conclusive evidence at hand, officials temporarily shuttered the restaurant pending further investigation, while extensive repairs and policy changes were mandated. The head chef, a linchpin of the disparagement Audrey had faced, was suspended indefinitely, in what was described as a management overhaul yet necessary for rectifying an unhealthy workplace culture. As the hours ticked by, messages of gratitude and support poured into Audrey's inbox from people she didn't know, fellow diners who had witnessed or heard of her plight. Neighbors stopped by her salon to commend her bravery and express their relief in seeing justice prevail. Her community embraced her story as if it were their own, her determination to act inspiring a local movement for fairness and change. Braving flashbulbs and notepads, a few particularly hopeful young clients dared to dream their voices could usher progress, inspired softly through Audrey's discreet determination. In understated jubilance, Audrey found a peculiar solace in having quietly enabled this groundswell dialogue concerning truth and integrity. As dusk fell and shadows stretched over the bustling city, more and more people came forward, sharing their experiences, narrating tales of being dismissed or belittled. Audrey had unwittingly become a beacon, galvanizing others into holding these sanctified spaces accountable. The hotel industry awoke to a reckoning, questioned by a collective furor led by those once voiceless. Although apprehensive, Audrey's heart soared, her intent remained rooted not in retribution, but in an earnest beacon for a flourishing broader understanding. Her community's reactions confirmed that seemingly modest actions could indeed lead to significant change, a reprieve with a rippling effect she never imagined venturing toward over whispered echoes the night prior. As dusk enveloped the day, Audrey found solace and a serene pride in the small, yet impactful change she had catalyzed. Though her humility stood unadorned by the sweeping celebration, deep within her something extraordinary glowed, the unwavering belief that dignity and justice belonged to everyone and that her own courage had been more than enough to help steer its course. Some weeks had passed since that tumultuous evening, and life for Audrey had settled back into its familiar rhythm. Her mornings were filled with the hum of scissors and the gentle chatter of clients, while her evenings were often spent with a warm cup of tea, mulling over the stories shared with her during the day. The storm of public criticism had sparked widespread change, which led to numerous local businesses tightening their safety regulations and customer service protocols. The restaurant where her ordeal had unfolded seemed to have borne the biggest brunt. After its brief shutdown, it reopened with new management and a renewed commitment to hospitality, a far cry from the dismissive environment Audrey had encountered. On a bright afternoon, as sunlight streamed through the salon windows, Audrey was arranging products when her attention was caught by a familiar glint of metal on the doorstep. A modest envelope sat there, edged in blue, its elegant script bearing no hint of any sender's name. Curiosity piqued, Audrey unfolded the letter to reveal a note of sincere gratitude from the local fire department, acknowledging her quick thinking, which had potentially averted a significant hazard. The letter spoke of her bravery not just in reporting the danger but in overcoming intimidation to stand up for herself and inadvertently others. To her surprise, the letter also included an invitation to speak at a small community event focused on raising awareness about safety and empowerment. Despite the anxiety blooming in her chest at the thought of public speaking, Audrey felt compelled to accept. There was meaning to be found in sharing her story, a possibility to inspire others as she had been inspired by her own happenstance. With her colleagues' warm encouragement and supportive smiles, Audrey marked the date on her calendar, each tick of the daily flip signifying a step closer to something undeniably special. As the day arrived, Audrey found herself in front of an engaged audience, her fingers slightly trembling against the notes prepared, the blend of familiarity and nerves a potent mix inspiring gentler words. Bearing the ambience of humble proximity, she spoke of the legacy left by simple actions. The desire to bring about change, not engulfed in grand gestures but cultivated through the courage to embrace vulnerability, resonated richly. Her honesty sparked a gentle admiration from those gathered, their nods of understanding affirming she was indeed being heard. After the event, Audrey found herself enveloped in heartfelt conversations with attendees eager to connect. She was approached by individuals thanking her, some seeking guidance on similar issues they faced in their own professions. A young woman with aspirations of becoming a business owner expressed gratitude for showing that ordinary people could make an extraordinary difference. In the days following the event, Audrey's life took on an invigorated note. The salon thrummed with a newfound energy, inspired clients walked through its doors ready to share their gratitude alongside their struggles and triumphs. The demographic cross-section included regulars and new faces alike, some of whom became friends, contributing to a growing circle of meaningful connections sculpted by shared experiences. The restaurant from which her story took flight attempted to reach out, offering her a complimentary dining experience as an apology. While gratitude mingled with memories of heartbreak, Audrey chose to gracefully decline. She recognized this as a personal closure, a testament to her belief in moving forward and embracing the future, unhindered by past grievances. One evening, as Audrey strolled through her neighborhood reflecting on these events, she chanced upon a new sign adorning the restaurant's entrance, under new management, where hospitality meets excellence. The place gleamed with renewed vitality, its renewed commitment visibly attracting a lively crowd, marking a testament to how important change had taken place since that pivotal night. Audrey paused, observing the refreshed facade and the eager diners inside. A fleeting thought of entering passed through her and then faded away, replaced by a peaceful acceptance. There was no resentment, only a gentle remembrance of how the experience had reshaped her life. Returning home, she sank into her favorite chair, cradling a fragrant cup of chamomile tea beneath calming lamplight. The comforting scent filled the room as she turned her gaze to the rewarding stories unfolding parallel within her life. Through windows into friendships cultivated, dreams shared, she cherished quiet moments that encapsulated the strength she rediscovered, an understated victory. The swaying leaves just outside the window whispered the richness of options long nurtured in the quiet of her perspective, known not by her social standing but through the indelible courage intertwined amid her inner narrative. Audrey had emerged from her experiences with dignity not just intact but amplified, perpetuated by a quiet resilience exemplified in hopeful laughter. Now, as she moved with purpose and warmth through the small circles of her world, her story, one individual stand against adversity, told of life's potential alchemy, the unexpected courage crafted within, sparking light upon discovering worth through simplicity. The final image was one of Audrey, brimming with contentment and hope, stronger than before and unconcerned with pretenses. She was an embodiment of quiet power, a heartfelt champion for all ordinary voices that dared rise. Her dreams no longer constrained to wistful, one days, Audrey understood their beauty lay not in unapproachable grandeur, but in living with authenticity and grace, that had been more than enough.